Okay, so we're looking at slope again, and just so you all are aware, this is the last lesson in this chapter. So we started this chapter with unit rates, we moved to proportional relationships, and now this week with slope and direct variation. So we'll have a quiz on Friday, but then next week's going to be a review week and getting ready for our test, which will be next week. So this is the last lesson that we've got in this chapter. So think back to Monday when we talked about finding the slope. Today's going to be a little different. Today we're going to be given the slope of a line and one point that it goes through. And our job is to graph that line. What is it going to look like? So first of all, let's remind ourselves. Anybody remember the two ways that, or one of the two ways that we can say slope? Something over something. Y over X. So I'm going to say change in Y, but you're right, AJ. Change in Y over change in X. Because what did we do for the Y values and X values to find the slope? What operation did we do? What did we do? We had 2 points. Subtracted, right? Remember we subtracted them? That's the change. That's what I mean by the change. The change in Y, change in X, we subtract the Y values, subtract the X values. There was the other one that I said is probably the most common one that is used. It's the two R words. Going up, what are you doing? Starts with an R. Rise over run. Yes, rise over run. In other words, so go from one point to the next. How much are we changing going up and down? And how much are we changing going left or right? And remember the very last example we did on Monday. That line was going down, and the line was going down, the slope was also negative. So a negative slope, and this is one thing that we're going to see a lot today. If you have a negative slope going from left to right, that means the line is going down. So from left to right, the line's going down if you have a negative slope. So that's one important thing to remember today, because we're going to have some examples where the slope is going to be negative. Okay, so when graphing a line, we're given the slope, we've got to graph this line. We're going to first take the point that they give us. So it's going to say graph the line that has a slope of this and goes through this point. So we're going to take that point first, and we're going to plot the point. From there, we count the slope from that point. So we start at that point that we graph, and then from there we count out the slope. And then we can also plot 2 or 3 more points. We can draw a line through it, and that'll be our line. That's why you got rulers today, because you'll want to make sure you're using those to draw the straight lines. If we have a slope of 2 over 3, what direction would we go to? To what? If it's positive 2, we're going to go up 2. So that's positive in the Y direction. And if it's a positive 3, which direction would we go, left or right? Right would be positive. So positive in the X direction would be right. So we would plot our point. We would go up 2 and right 3. We plot another point. We count up 2, right 3, plot another point, and then draw a line through those points. So that's what we're going to be doing today. One thing that I want us to get out of the habit of is don't say over 3, because what does over, that could mean left or right. So say right or left 3, whichever direction you're going. But don't say over, because that could be any one. All right? So let's go ahead and we're going to do a few examples together. Make sure that we've got this down. So graph the line that has a slope of 3 over 2 and goes through the point -1, 3. So the first thing is to plot this point. So make sure we get the point right. -1 would be X, -1, and then up 3. So this is that first point. And then the slope is 3 over 2. So I would suggest starting by doing this. 3 over 2, write the slope down. 3 is going to be what direction? Up 3. And what direction 2? Right 2. So what we are going to do is don't start back at the origin. We're starting at the point that we just plotted. And from here, we're going to count up 3 and right 2 and then plot another point. And then do it one more time. So now from the point that we just plotted, count up 3 again and right 2 again and plot that point. So now you've got 3 points. It's easy now to make a line through those 3 points. One other thing I want you to do is don't stop at the points. I want you to go a little bit past them and then draw arrows on both sides. Okay, so go through all 3 points. Don't stop at any of them. Go through all the points and then draw arrows on both sides. That shows that it is a line and it never ends. And that's what we've got to do. The arrows mean it's going to continue on like that. Okay, so let's look at our next example. So graph the line that has a slope of -2 and goes through the point 4, -4. So first thing, plot your point, 4, -4. So we're going to count right 4 and down 4. That's our point. Second thing is write out the slope, -2. Well, we want to make it look like a fraction because we need to know y and x. So anytime you have a whole number or an integer as a slope, what could we do to make this look like a fraction, Vincent? Yep, by doing what? -2 over 1. Good. Anytime that you've got just an integer or a whole number, write it over 1. Now it's a lot easier. So if it's -2, what direction are we going to go to? We're going to go down 2, and it's +1, so we're going to go right 1. So down 2 and right 1. So from the point that we just plotted, we're going to count down 2 and right 1, plot another point. We'll do it one more time. Down 2 and right 1, plot another point. Now we can make our line. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you all before we look at the next one. So we said it was -2 over 1. How many numbers are negative if the slope is negative? Both of them? Just one of them, right? Because what if we did this? What if we did -2 over -1? What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. So that would actually be 2 over 1. And that's not the same, because then we'd be going up and right. So anytime you have a negative slope, just one number, either the x or the y, that's what's negative, not both of them. Because if they're both negative, then it's actually a positive slope. So don't do it like this. The other thing you could have done, because sometimes we might not have room to go down and to the right, but notice, if we're going down and to the right, we could also go up and to the left, right? You see that? We're going from one point to the next, we go up and to the left. Because up would be +2, but then left would be -1. And so one of these is negative. That's the same thing. So these two are the same thing as each other. So really, if you have a negative slope, you can decide, which one do I want to make negative? Do I want to make the y value negative, or do I want to make the x value negative? It's up to you, as long as you don't make both negative. Okay? So down and to the right is the same thing as up and to the left. And notice, this line has a negative slope, and going from left to right, it's going down, not up. So negative slope, remember, means it's going down. Kind of like we looked at on Monday. So any questions about negative slopes? How we do that? All right, I want you all to do the next one on your own. The next one on your own. So plot the point, count out the slope, and graph that line. Okay, a slope of 3 over 5. What direction 3 would we go? Up 3, and 5 would be right 5. Okay, so plot our point. Negative 3, negative 6. You're going to go left 3 and down 6. And then from there, we're going to go up 3 and right 5. Plot our next point. Same thing. Up 3, right 5. And then connect our line through it. And that is what it should look like. Your second point that you plot should be on the x-axis. So check and make sure that's the case. And if it's not, then see kind of where you went wrong. Okay, so any questions so far on plotting the point and counting the slope? There's another type of question that we're going to have to do with this, and that is if they give us 2 points and we've got to find the slope. Okay, so let's find the slope first, because I want to show you how we can do that, and then we can maybe use it and make sure we get these 2 points correct. Do we have to graph the line in order to find the slope? Think back to Monday. Did we have to graph every single one of those to find the slope? We don't have to graph the line. How many points do we need? 2 points, right? And so remember what we did to find the slope? We did y over x, and we subtracted the 2 values. Remember that? You can do that as well for these. Okay? So if I took and subtracted these 2, so I'm going to do 5 minus negative 3. Because it's the y values that come first, or that go on top. So y values go on top. Remember, y is the second one. If I did 5 minus negative 3, how do I need to do the bottom then? Negative 7, because 5 came first, negative 7 needs to come first, minus negative 3 as well. Notice that I am subtracting negative numbers. So it's not negative 7 minus 3, it's negative 7 minus negative 3. So what should I do with those 2? Minus negative. Yeah, I'm actually going to add them, right? Change those both to positive. So it's going to be 5 plus 3, which would be 8. And negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. So I get 8 over negative 4. Now what else should I do? Simplify it. 8 over negative 4 can simplify to 2 over negative 1. Or if I wanted to write negative 2, that'd be the same thing. So that is what the slope is. So you can always count out the slope, but I think the best thing to do is to subtract the points. Because if you subtract the points, you're going to get it exact. sometimes the graph with your pencils might be darker, or you might hit a line that you shouldn't hit. So subtracting is always the best way to do that. Then we can plot those 2 points and we'll graph the line. So negative 7, 5. We're going to go left 7 and up 5. And then negative 3, negative 3. So make sure the ruler goes through both of these points and then graph your line through them. Since it's a negative slope, the line does go down from left to right. And notice, it might be a little bit off because the graph is kind of small, but you should be going left 1 and up 2. Left 1, up 2. Left 1, up 2. Left 1, up 2. And so that's going to take you to every point that this line hits as you draw it out. Okay, let's do one more together like this. Any questions? So once again, find the slope by subtracting. That is the best way to do that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for this next one. We're going to take y over x, subtract the y values, and subtract the x values. So we'll do negative 2 minus 4. If we do negative 2 minus 4, what order should the x values go in? Which x value should come first? 0, yeah, because 0 goes with negative 2, so 0 minus 4. So negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. Do we need to simplify? Yes. Also, what can happen to the two negatives? What's a negative over a negative? It's a positive. So do we need the negatives? We can take them out. So we can make these both positives. And what can we divide 6 and 4 by?
2.
By 2. That's going to get us positive 3 over 2. Remember, do we want to make that a mixed number? Slope, we keep it as an improper fraction. So it's going to stay at positive 3 over 2. So that's the slope. Now let's graph the line that goes through those 2 points. So we've got 0, negative 2. We're just going to go down 2. And then 4, 4. And we can graph it. And what should happen is we should go through one more point at 2, 1. Because that's going up 3 and right 2. Up 3, right 2, we get to the next point. And that's why that slope works. So if it tells you to graph the line that goes through 2 points, then what you want to do is find the slope first by subtracting, and then you can graph the line. You want us to get practice and understand we don't have to graph the line to find the slope. Okay? Any questions? All right.